What if having it all still left you feeling empty? Natty Frasca looked like she had the perfect life marriage, kids, career, but something was still missing. Now she's on a mission to help high achieving women in midlife tap into pleasure, neuroscience, and nervous system healing to live a wonderful yes life. On today's episode, I have an opportunity to chat with her, and I hope that you enjoy this conversation. Let's get into it. Welcome to Navigating Life After 40, the podcast that's all about helping women navigate this exciting and sometimes challenging phase of life. I'm your host, Ronnie J, and I'll be here sharing some of my own personal experiences, chatting with experts and a few friends, and also providing some practical advice and support to help you live your best life after 40. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Navigating Life After 40. I am here with Natty Frasca. Welcome to the podcast, Natty.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to see where this goes.
I am excited too. I cannot wait. When I saw your work that you were doing, I was like, oh my gosh, she's a powerhouse. I want to talk to her.
Thank you. It's true.
Yeah, I was like, I need to talk to her. I love it. You can hear the confidence in your words and even in your photos. I was like, oh yeah, I need to talk to her. So thank you
So
for
good.
being here.
Well,
Yeah, so we're going to hop in, y'all, because we have a lot to cover in a small bit of time. And so if we don't hit on everything today, my hope is that we can dive further, maybe inviting Nata to an episode recording in the future. Because there are some things I know I want to touch on, but there may not be all in this episode today.
There's a lot.
Yeah. All right. So let's hop on in. Let's talk about, a little bit of background info about you, Natty. You had the career and the house and the family. And at some point you realized something was missing. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Yes. Yeah, I guess we'll go back in time a little bit. So I'm 49. So it was around my 40th birthday. I had a great career. I was the executive director of a nonprofit. I got to give back to my community. I felt great about that. 3 healthy kids, married for 14 years, but I was depressed. And in fact, I went to my doctor and said, what's wrong with me? And she immediately put me on antidepressants. She was like, oh, this is just life, you know? But I knew there was something else. There was like something I was missing. I would lay in bed at night and just think, I have all this. I have all the things that I was told to kind of go after. All the things I thought I wanted, the house, the white picket fence, 3 healthy kids. It was married to a good man, a hardworking guy, a good human. And yet I would lay in bed at night and think, what the hell is wrong with me? Why can't I be happy? And so the start of the story, really, the clincher, the moment where I noticed I was missing something. I don't tell the story very often, but I'm going to tell it here. So we were in couples therapy, my husband and we had been couples therapy for years. And we kept having the same fights over and over again. And I kept kind of threatening divorce. And at this particular couples therapy session, I said, that's it. Like, I'm just done. I'd already contacted a divorce lawyer and said, I was ready to blow everything up and start over again. And our therapist said, okay, what do you want, Natty? And I said, okay, I want a condo in the center of town. I want someone to shovel the snow. 'Cause I'm from Boston. We get a lot of snow up here. I want someone to mow the lawn. I want, part-time childcare to help me with the kids. I want a lover. I definitely want a lover. And, he laughed a little bit and he said, okay, let me ask you a different question. How do you want to feel? And I was stumped, Ronnie. I didn't understand the question. How do I want to feel? Like, what is he asking me? And I sat there for a second. I just got kind of quiet. And I remember closing my eyes and I had this vision. It was like a vision from frickin' God. It was like the vision was me standing at the stovetop in my kitchen. And I'm Italian. My parents are Italian. I was stirring a pot of my grandmother's ragu. Jerry Garcia is on the stereo system in my house. My three kids dancing wildly in the kitchen. And the kicker of the whole vision that I had was my husband came up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, put his beard on my neck, kissed me, put a glass of Cabernet next to me. And when I saw that vision, I just started crying. And I was like, I want to feel seen. I want to feel loved. I want to feel adored. I want to feel taken care of. I want to feel like a princess. I want to feel like a queen. I want to feel revered. I want to feel like I matter. And as a very high achieving woman, as kind of a boss babe, if you will, as like this hardcore feminist who thought, I can do it all. I can be it all. I can do it all by myself. I was the youngest of three kids and the only girl. So my whole life, I just hustled and grinded out, all my blue ribbons and trophies. I wanted to be the best at everything. It was saying those words about how I wanted to feel was the beginning of me cracking open because I was so tired. I was so tired of holding it all together for everyone. And I realized I had lost a really big part of myself. I didn't even know a really big part of myself. So after that moment, I remember in that therapy session, the chairs were kind of like this, faced at the therapist. My husband was one chair, I was in the other. And he turned his chair towards me. He held my hands and was like, I would love to do that for you if you let me. And I was like, what?
Our heads both did the same thing.
I know. I was like, really? Like, I was so embarrassed by my share that I was like crying and snarfling, and I had tissues. And it was such a weird, shamey, soft thing that I'd never allowed myself to feel. And then, so that was just like this jumping off point. And I thought, well, I've just done this whole thing wrong. I have left an entire part of my womanhood. Like, I just shoved that part of my womanhood under the carpet for 40 years because that's what I was trained to do. And so I did end up leaving my job. I went to yoga teacher training. I spent, years trying to kind of find out what my thing. I went on a journey, a self-exploration journey, became a yoga and meditation teacher. I became a certified coach. I got into, 5 or 6 years ago, I did a pleasure training, a year-long pleasure training with a pleasure expert. I've studied anti-patriarchal training. So I've gone down this road and now I'm guiding women back home to themselves, back home to their desires, back home to their bodies, creating lives that they really want to wake up to. So that's the backstory. A little longer than I expected to share, but
No, that is perfectly fine. And I love the story because it gives you a visualization of what you went through from being
mm,
in the room with the therapist to when you shared about being in the kitchen and your husband coming up behind you and the kids are around and the music is playing. And then leading up to that point where your husband says, I would love to give you that.
I mean, I literally like I want to cry just hearing it back. Like I have goosebumps
Yeah.
because just telling the story, it just takes you back there. And, it's been 9 years. So, and, I don't want to paint this rainbow and unicorn, sparkly, glittery version of what this reclamation has been. I've had to let go of friendships, of people in my life. I've had to set really strong boundaries. I've had to put myself first. I've made a lot of people really uncomfortable. And, um, grew up in a Catholic household, talking about pleasure on the internet.
Yeah.
It's going to make some aunties uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
and that's okay. So I've made peace with it, little by little, step towards my fear, gone straight through my fear, and come out on the other side over and over again.
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like you went on this journey to make this complete transformation to become the woman you want to become now. And I'm curious to know for the women out there who are wanting to change, but they have this guilt about wanting more for themselves, what would you say to them?
Well, Ronnie, I would say the root of the guilt is not their own. So all of us, are swimming in the same ocean, this patriarchal stew, right? It says that men hold all the power, white men, right? It says that our skin color dictates how much power we have, right? Like it's everywhere. It is um it is a dirty soup. And so the guilt that they feel is part of that soup that they're swimming in. It's part of their conditioning. So our world wants women to stay small and satisfied because I believe if women really knew how powerful they were, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, not to get political, but we would not be where we are today if women were in power, if we knew how powerful we are. So it is by design that you have that guilt. It is a very well designed system. So once you kind of understand the history, the 5,000 years of patriarchy and organized religion that has kept women from recognizing our power, from moving towards our desires, it sheds a new light on it. It's like, wait a minute. When I learned this, it was like, oh, okay. So maybe it's not me. Maybe I'm allowed to have more. And maybe this is the clincher. Maybe if I'm really happy and fulfilled, I will push more love and justice into the world. To me, that is the power of this work. So it starts with the individual, right? It starts with our individual healing. And then the more we heal, the more we can see others, see their pain, see their suffering, and we can raise everyone up. We can help more people. We can love more people. We can stand up for people who don't have the power that we have. I
Yeah.
mean, it is a win, 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 win. So the guilt, when I work with women, we're often tracing that back to family history. What did we learn from our parents? What did they learn from their parents? What's in our ancestry that has caused you to believe that it's not okay to want more? And then we work through that, right? When I'm working with women, there's kind of three parts. And the first part is kind of desires. What do we want our lives to look like? But then we have this vision, right? How do we get there? In order to get there, there's we have to go through what I call the unbinding. And it's the unbinding from these outdated beliefs, these beliefs like the guilt, right?
Yeah.
For wanting more that aren't our own. So, and that takes work and that takes time. And I'm still unbinding. I mean, my work is never ending, right? We're human beings. We're always, if we're expanding as human beings, if we're growing, then we're always going to be confronted with things we're moving through, fears that we have. I have a fear of public speaking. I can speak to you, but so this is something that I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we're always working towards something.
Yeah, I like that, and I don't feel bad because I have a fear of public speaking too. Um, Sometimes my friends are like, "I would never be able to tell," and I'm like, "Well, it's there." Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Working on it, like you said, working on
Yeah,
it.
we're always working on something.
Yeah, we're always a work in progress. When you
Yeah.
were speaking, it made me think of when women are healed and whole, how we're
Mm.
able to love and give more of ourselves.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I wish you're making me think of something, like, I think I wanna do a podcast with my kids or something because my kids will often point to the before mama and the after mama, the now mama. And, my kids are 21, 20, and 17, but they remember 10 years ago and before when I was a stressed out person, when I was, couldn't sit and have a conversation, when I wasn't available, when I wasn't a good listener. So, I mean, I am such a better parent, a better partner, a better community member, a better citizen because I've done the work.
And I think a lot of women need to do the work. And I think and you pointed that out, is that's where the guilt comes from because we've been taught to stay in this box and to be a certain type of woman. And we don't step outside of this. And again, not to be political as you mentioned, but now we see the political landscape as it is now, and they're wanting to kind of keep us in this box even
Yeah.
more and prevent us from growing and becoming the women that we know we can become, because women do have power and we see how powerful women are. We've been seeing that, especially in this, the last few months with everything going on in this country politically
Yes.
and how that impacts when they see our power. It's like, uh-oh,
We gotta
we
tamp
gotta,
that down. We gotta
yeah, we
tamp
gotta,
those
yeah,
women are getting too loud, too rambunctious, too
yeah.
crazy, too powerful, too rebellious, and yeah, it's not a time to stop. It is a time to dig in and do the work. If not now, when?
Man, yeah.
If not now, when? And, a lot of women will say, "Well, I've read the books, I read the books, I listen to podcasts," but you gotta do more. You gotta do more. I mean, it's you gotta get into the streets and protest, or you gotta, uh, you know, volunteer at your local food pantry. It's not, you gotta get coached.
Yeah.
Um, this work doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when groups of women come together. It's not easy to do the work alone. I have found that my biggest transformations have happened like when I'm being coached by a coach or when I'm in a group of like-minded women.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing about myself when I'm in a group of like-minded women. It's like you soar. You have
Oh,
that support and that
yeah.
accountability,
Oh,
and to
so
me, it's
good.
just so powerful, and you can just feel that energy, and
Oh,
it makes
we
you wanna just do some
feed off of
things,
each
right?
other. We
Yeah, we
feed off of each
do.
other. It is so good. It is
Yeah.
so, so, so good. Like the women in my world, like I don't have any woman in my world. I mean, like I said, I've created really strong boundaries over the last 10 years. So anyone who is in my world, they are a ride or die. I mean, I would fly across the country and, I will bury a body for you. Like, I am I am all in with these women, and they're all in with me.
I know you talked a lot about basically rebuilding from the inside out, doing
Mm,
the work. How does pleasure, just kind of in your framework, we're going to talk about pleasure, but not in the context that you guys are thinking just
mm,
yet. So,
yeah,
but how does pleasure help rebuild that self trust and confidence in women?
yeah. Well, pleasure, let's define it, first of all. So, pleasure is anything you do that makes your body go, "Oh, yeah, this." So, that could be cuddling up on the couch with your dog on a hot cup of tea. It could be eating your lunch. Like, I live in a building, I sit on my stoop in the sunshine and eat my salad at lunchtime. Pleasure. It could be hiking in the woods, going to the beach. So pleasure is anything, and it lives on a spectrum. So we have all of those things that are easy, right? It's me. The lilacs are out right now in New England. So it's me, like when I walk my dog in the morning, I'm sticking my face in every lilac. So it's a sensory experience, right? It's engaging with your body, and your body's going, ugh, and you notice it. When you pay attention, you notice pleasure. And that's the key, noticing when you're having it. And it lives on a spectrum. So we have all those kind of smaller things. And then on the very far end of the spectrum, we do have the things that your listeners are thinking about, right? There's sex,
Yeah.
orgasm,
Yeah.
delicious Sunday mornings with your lover or by yourself. So it's all of it. And what pleasure does, it does a few things. Number one, it puts your body into a parasympathetic nervous response, which we call rest and digest. So it's just like when you take a deep, deep breath in and a really slow exhale, you're settling your body, right? You can feel that. So when you experience pleasure, you're taking your body out of fight or flight, or that like response, and into the opposite. When we do that, our brains get clearer. When we experience pleasure, we have, they've actually done brain scans. Our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that is responsible for decision making, that lights up. So many parts of our brain are activated. We become clearer thinkers. We become, um, more generous people when we experience pleasure. So pleasure, I say, is fuel. So for driven, ambitious women, it is a very powerful tool to reset your body, to come back home to yourself, to clear your head, to become even more strategic, to connect with your intuition. So it's not frivolous. So the women I work with are really ambitious women, right? They're CEOs, they're founders, they're business owners, and they're very often, not only the executives of companies, but the executives of their households. So they have got lists of things they're supposed to be doing. And usually by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, they're like, can't even think straight, right? So pleasure, in my practice, I call them pleasure pumps. I want my women to be pumping pleasure strategically into their day. So whether that's a dance break in between phone calls, I have Prince playlist for myself. So in between, before I got on this podcast with you, I danced to Kiss. I'm like, like, like
I love it.
I have a whole list of favorite songs. I'm always dancing throughout the day. I'm doing breath work throughout the day. I'm sitting on my stoop, feeling the sun on my face. So this is pleasure, and pleasure is fuel, and it's a scientific tool to help driven women achieve even more. So many women experience what I experienced at 40, which I think is burnout, right? We're just burned out. We don't even know what we want anymore. We've checked all the boxes of success, and now we're like, I don't want to do any of it anymore, right? But pleasure is the antidote to that. So if you can learn how to use pleasure as fuel, go dancing with friends. Take yourself out to lunch. A couple days a week, I buy myself a really fancy salad from the cafe down the street. I take it home, I eat it on my stoop. But, they're little things. And What women tell me is that they want lives that feel good. Pleasure is feeling good. Those things that you're pumping into your day, that is you feeling good. And you're training your brain to say pleasure is safe. And you really like your brain is neuroplastic. So even at 49, 50, we can train our brain to feel like pleasure is safe. And I have to say, from one driven woman to another, like I'm a very high achiever. And I love to work. I love, love, love to work. I love my job. I love to work. And I use pleasure as a tool. It is why I've achieved so much and why I can keep going.
I love that. It makes me think about little moments of self care that we
Yes.
often don't take advantage of. And
Mhm.
as you were talking, I remember setting this goal, and I'm gonna have to like get back to it, which was, once a week, leave the house and go to lunch.
Yes. Yes.
I get up during, certain points throughout the day. I just thought I was just like, okay, I entertain myself. I'm singing. I know I can't sing, but I'm singing in my mind. I think I can. And I'm
Yeah.
dancing and I'm doing all of the
Yes.
things. And even if the phone rings and somebody's catching me like at the tail end and they're like, what are you doing? And I say, I'm singing.
I'm
And
singing and dancing.
yeah, singing and
So,
dancing.
yes.
And so those little moments, you're right. They even give me just a little bit of energy that I need because,
Yes.
going through the day, you're right. By the time you get to 2 o'clock, I'm like, oh my God, I need a nap.
Yeah. We are not meant to sit at desks all day.
Yeah.
We are meant to be moving our bodies. I mean, I take some of my coaching clients in my headphones on hikes.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, today we're meeting on the phone and I'm going to be hiking with my dog during this call because it actually helps me think more clearly when I'm moving my body. So, yeah, pleasure for the win, Ronnie.
That, and I'm going to keep dancing and singing, but I'm definitely going to get back to my moments of, leaving the house one time a week. That is a promise I made to myself. And then I stopped and I got
Yes.
to get back to that because it feels so good to just get outside, even to stand in the sun when the sun is
Yes.
shining. Like, I hate the heat down here, but there are moments when I'm saying, you know what, I just need to stand in the sun.
Yes.
And I will just go
Absolutely.
stand there and it feels refreshing and I feel
Yeah.
energized and
Yes.
um because you're right, sitting all day and staring at a computer, it's so draining.
Yeah, it is not good for your brain. It's not good
Yeah.
for your body. And I mean, just yesterday, I had to record a podcast and I was so tired like a couple hours before. I mean, I kept procrastinating it. I was exhausted. So I went and I took a nap. I said, so sometimes pleasure is rest. I mean, I just crawled into my bed with my dog. I slept for 2 hours. I woke up full of piss and vinegar and ready to go. It's just like because we need to listen to our bodies.
Yeah. And we have to give it what it needs at that time. And often we just ignore it and we try to push through
Mm-mm,
and it further drains us even more. And I think that's another mistake that a lot of women make is
mm-mm,
we have this, and which also leads me just to, the next part of our conversation is really the rebellion part of life for a woman. But as I was saying, like we push through. We've been so conditioned to
mm,
continue and to continue and to continue. And often in my work when I'm coaching women, I hear the same thing. Oh, I just push through. I just push
mm-mm,
through. And it's not
mm-mm.
helpful at
No.
all. So I'm curious to know, let's shift into like the rebel rousing that you mentioned in your work. What does rebellion look like for the woman in midlife? For those of us who are in our 40s and 50s, what does that
Yeah.
look like?
Well, it looks different for every woman. But I would say for some women, it might look like admitting that the marriage that they're in or that they've been in for 23 years, as good as it looks on paper, doesn't feel good and needs to either be fixed or left. So A lot of my clients are in that transition. For some of my clients, it looks like learning how to feel more comfortable being sexy. So, like, reclaiming their sensuality, right? We are taught that a woman in midlife is on the decline, not in my world. A woman in my world in midlife has walked through so many fires. She's like a phoenix rising, and she has this opportunity to reclaim herself, to reclaim the beauty of her body with the wrinkles and the folds and all of it, and just get out there, wear what she wants to wear, and be damn proud of who she is. For some women, it's, drawing strong boundaries with family members and really speaking their mind, standing up for themselves, letting some people go, not willing to be someone's doormat anymore. Letting go of friendships, even though that friendship may be decades long. We all have had those friends that it's like, even though we've known them for years, we leave an afternoon or a night with them and we feel worse than when we started. And you think, what am I doing? Just because I've known you for 20 years or just because we had babies at the same time doesn't mean I have to spend my Thursday night with you. So a rebellion might be letting go of those people in a kind way. Doesn't need to be nasty. But just reclaiming your time might be saying no to extra work, at your place of employment. It might be asking for a better title or more money. It might be leaving a stable job to start a brand new entrepreneurial venture. So it's like, I think of midlife as this like amazing portal of opportunity. We've done all the things, we've checked all the boxes. We have nothing left to prove.
Yes.
Like, this is like me time, right? We've raised kids to the point of at least high school, most of us, right? Or they're beyond needing diapers changed and shoes put on. So we have a lot more freedom. We have way more choice than we think we have. And when you realize that, every morning when you wake up and when you wake up before your feet hit the ground, you have a choice how you want to live that day. Who do I want to be? Who
And
do I
show
want to
up
be
as
today?
that person.
And
Yeah.
just show up as her. Show up as her. Who's the badassest, boldest, most courageous version of you?
Yes.
What is she wearing?
Mhm.
Right? What is she saying? What is she saying yes to? What is she saying no to? Does she strut down the street? Does she swagger down the street? How does she move?
Yeah. I
It's
love it.
we're so lucky.
How does there are still some women out there who are like, "I hear you, Natty," and it sounds so good, it
Mm.
really sounds good,
Mhm.
and that's what I want, but I'm still a little scared. What would you say to them? How do they say yes? How do they
You
change
know
their
what?
mind and say
I
yes
am
to what they
scared
want?
every single day. Every single day I do shit that scares me, Ronnie. It's a choice. It's a choice. I say this to my clients all the time. You are either expanding or shrinking. Two options. What do you want to do? You want to move towards the thing that scares you? Or do you want to stay hidden under the covers? Like, it's just a choice. Listen, this work's not for everyone. I can't take everyone on this ride. I'd love to, but some people just, and I get it, can't muster the strength, the grit to just frickin' do it. But a lot of women have it. A lot of women, like, I remember the night I made the choice. I remember lying in bed and saying, mm-mm, No more, no more. I was listening to an Oprah podcast and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm doing it. I'm going to be different. I'm going to try being different tomorrow. And I did. I tried being different.
I love that. And I love that, just that reminder of every morning you wake up, you get to decide who you want to be.
Uh-huh.
And you get to envision that person
Uh-huh.
and show up as that person that you see. And to me, the more that you do that, it begins to kind of shift your mind and to shift your confidence into something else.
Yeah.
That's the power of visualization. It's not, I'm just seeing it, but I'm also doing it, the work to get there,
Mm,
to get to this version of myself
yes.
that I see in my head. And so I like that reminder. And I am loving this conversation because it is so good. It is really, really good. So I have just another question for you. And for the women out here who really needs that one question, what is a question that they can reflect on to help them decide to make that decision? I know for myself, I told myself I don't want to leave this world with regrets. I don't
Mm,
want to get to a point in my life where I'm old and I can't move as much or do as much because
mm,
whatever. And I'm just sitting there like, man, I wish I would have done the thing. I wish I would have taken the trip. I wish I would have, cared for myself a little bit more or followed my passion. And so that's something that keeps me going and keeps me motivated even on days when I don't want to do. Because there's some days I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. I don't want to
yeah.
work. I don't want to do nothing. I just
Uh-huh.
want to quit it all and just lay here for like 2 or 3 months doing nothing. But I can't do that. And then I have these reminders of who I really want to be. So
Yes.
what is a reflection question that you can
Well, this
provide for the
this is
women?
so great. Well, I have two questions that pop up
Okay.
in my Google Calendar every morning at 9 a.m. on repeat. And I've shared this with so many people and people love it. So, and it's very similar to your question, but these two questions every morning are, who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? Two questions every day. And I have those as Post-it notes on my mirror. I have them popping up in my Google Calendar, and I just have them in my mind now. Who do I want to be and how do I want to feel? And those guide my every day. They guide my every single day.
Who do you want to be and how do you want to feel?
Yeah. And every day is different. Some days, like, I'm at this weird part in my life where some months I have my period for 2 days. Some months I have my period for 9 days. It's like, ugh. And so I've had a lot of like days where I'm just like super tired. So some days, every day the answer to the question isn't, oh, I want to be badass and I want to be,
Yeah.
no. Some days it's, who do I want to be today? I want to be just a cozy little snuggle bug, who takes luscious care of herself. How do I want to feel? Taken care of, warm, soft, nourished. So maybe on those days I'm working in my sweatpants and I have a pot of soup on the stove, and then there are other days where I'm dressing up like a badass and trotting around the city in really cute heels and a fun bag, like,
Yeah.
but I'm always listening to myself.
I love that. And this conversation has been so empowering even for me. Just listening
Mm,
to you, it just kind of served as a reminder of how I love to be in community with women who think the way that you do and who do things the way that you do. And so I feel like I'm just sitting here chatting with a friend and I'm
you
learning
are.
from this friend. And so I love it. And I just want to thank you again for being here. And also, lastly, where can the listeners, how can they connect with you on social media or your website?
Yeah. On Instagram, my handle is the Feminine Rebellion. which is the name of my business. And my website is the same, thefemininerebellion.com. So those would be the two places. If people want to learn more, or you know what, I have a visualization on my website. It's at thefemininerebellion.com ritual. Sorry, .com/ritual. I'll send you the link. But I'll send you some links that you can share and put in the show notes. But I'd love to connect with anyone in your world. And this has been so fun. And it does feel like two friends just chatting.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just like, I am listening to my friend. I feel like I am talking to a friend that I really needed to talk to, that I haven't talked to in a long time, and I really needed to hear this again for myself. I have a big, and I have not announced it yet. I'm waiting to finish some things, but I'm getting ready to step into something big that I'm working on. And
Oh,
so this conversation has kind of reignited that spark in me to say, you know what, you can do this. And
yeah.
in my mind saying, I'm going to do it. But I needed this talk today to say, you can do this. And
You are doing it, Ronnie.
yeah,
You're
so
stepping into it.
yeah, so I'm
I love
excited
that.
to share. And soon, hopefully, I can share maybe in the next couple of weeks or so. But again, I just want to thank you for being here, and thank you for, sharing your journey and the work that you're doing with women to help us feel empowered and seen and heard, and just so we can take back our lives, that
Yes.
many of us have put on the shelf for a very long time. So,
Yes.
um, that is it, you all, for this episode of Navigating Life After 40. Please, as I always like to say, leave me a review because it helps to reach more amazing women just like you all who are trying to navigate this amazing life. Until next time, I will see you later. That's a wrap for this episode of Navigating Life After 40. I hope you enjoyed this conversation just as much as I did. If you love what you're hearing, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. This helps me to reach more amazing women like yourself who are trying to navigate this amazing life. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep living your best life.